Xi Jinping, President of China since 2013 and General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, stands accused of orchestrating horrors that echo through the ages, policies that have crushed lives and silenced millions. Critics point to the internment of over 1 million Uyghurs in Xinjiang's re-education camps, involving torture, forced labor, and cultural erasure, the brutal suppression of Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement, with thousands arrested, and the jailing and disappearance of dissidents like Kai Xia and Zhiqiang for daring to speak out. In this documentary, we probe the psychological and psychoanalytic forces behind these alleged crimes, dissecting the mind of a leader whose actions have sparked global outrage, using science to uncover what drives him to wield power with such devastating force. Why shine a spotlight on Xi Jinping? Because his actions aren't just political. They're a psychological horror show, a chilling glimpse into a mind that wields absolute control over 4 billion people, leaving a trail of suffering that demands analysis. His policies, from mass internments to silencing dissent, reveal a psyche obsessed with dominance, making him a prime case for unraveling the darkness of power. Picture this. Xinjiang, 2018, razor-wire camps hold 1 million Uyghurs, tortured with electric shocks, forced to renounce their faith, per The Guardian. Hong Kong, 2020, riot police beat protesters bloody, tear gas choking streets as 7,000 are arrested, per Amnesty International. Dissidents like Zhiqiang vanish after calling Xi a clown, their families left in dread, per Wikipedia. These aren't stabbings in the dark, but state-orchestrated nightmares, crushing entire communities with surgical precision, making Xi's mind a terrifying puzzle to decode. Let's go back to where it all began, because even tyrants start small. Born in 1953 in Beijing, Xi Jinping was a princeling, son of Xi Jinping, a revered communist revolutionary. But his childhood wasn't gilded, it was brutal. At 14, during the Cultural Revolution, his father was jailed and she faced struggle sessions, public humiliations where Red Guards screamed threats of execution. "We can execute you 100 times, they taunted, per the cipher brief. His half-sister, Xi Jinping, committed suicide under pressure, per PBS. Sent to rural Shaanxi at 15, she lived in a cave, digging latrines for 7 years, a city kid turned peasant. The labor was brutal, he later wrote, per the cipher brief. Attachment theory says kids need stability to build trust. Xi's early life was chaos, betrayal, loss, and survival. Psychoanalytically, this trauma could spark post-traumatic growth, per the Diplomat, but also a deep need for control to avoid ever feeling that vulnerable again. His limited education, only elementary schooling before the countryside, left him sensitive about his lack of sophistication, per Time. Rising through the Communist Party, from Fujian governor to president, his ambition was relentless, fueled by a childhood that taught him power as survival. What kind of mind locks up 1 million people or crushes a city's freedom? Xi's psyche blends resilience, ruthlessness, and a hunger for control, likely showing traits of a dominant personality, per Digital Commons. Psychologically, dominance means needing to control others to feel secure. Xi's leadership, centralizing power, abolishing term limits in 2018, screams this need. His Xi Jinping thought, enshrined in China's constitution, suggests narcissistic traits, a belief he's a nation's savior, per Wikipedia. Yet his conscientious side, dutiful, disciplined, shows in his anti-corruption campaigns, per Psychology Today. Psychoanalytically, Freud's superego explained Xi's rigid adherence to communist ideology, shaped by his father's legacy and Mao's shadow. His ID, raw drive for power, pushes him to silence threats, while his ego balances these with calculated pragmatism. Trauma from the Cultural Revolution likely fuels a defense mechanism called reaction formation, turning fear of chaos into an obsession with order. His Chinese dream of national rejuvenation, per the Diplomat, is less about people and more about proving his strength, a shield against the helplessness of his youth. Close your eyes and see Xinjiang, 2018. Barbed wire camps loom like prisons, holding 1 million Uyghurs. They electrocuted my head, Marigold Turson told The Guardian. Her hair shaved, her body shocked until she bled, her period stopped from drug water. Families are torn apart, children sent to orphanages, forced to chant, "Long live Xi Jinping," per Wikipedia. Hong Kong 2020 is a war zone. Police batons crack skulls. Tear gas blinds protesters. 7,000 arrested, per Amnesty International. Blood was everywhere, a protester told BBC, describing broken bones and screams in the night. Dissidents like Xi, expelled from the party, lose everything for calling Xi a mafia boss, per Wikipedia. Zhiqiang vanishes in 2020, sentenced to 18 years for corruption after criticizing Xi, per Human Rights Watch. These aren't random killings, but systematic terror. Xinjiang's camps aim to erase Uyghur identity, labeled genocide by former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in 2021. Hong Kong's crackdown under the 2020 national security law jails journalists and activists, per The Guardian. Bookseller Lam Wing-Ki, abducted in 2015, spent 5 months in solitary, forced to confess to illegal book sales, per The Guardian. Xi's policies are a machine of control, crushing souls with bureaucracy and brutality, leaving a nation trembling. Xi's victims, Uyghurs, Hong Kong protesters, dissidents, weren't random. They were threats to his vision of a unified, obedient China. Psychologically, his choice reflected a need to eliminate chaos, a trauma response from his youth. Uyghurs, with their distinct culture, were seen as a separatist risk, especially after the 2013 Tiananmen attack, per The Guardian. Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement challenges authority, a direct affront to his narcissistic need for control. Dissidents like Xi and Zhiqiang, outspoken insiders, threaten his image as China's infallible leader. Psychoanalytically, object relations theory suggests Xi sees China as an extension of himself, a perfect, orderly whole. Threats to this, like Uyghur identity or Hong Kong's rebellion, are personal attacks, triggering his need to dominate. His childhood, marked by betrayal and humiliation, left him hypersensitive to dissent, per PBS. By targeting these groups, he's not just governing, he's purging his own fears, ensuring no one can make him feel powerless again. Xi's murders are cold, calculated policies, not blood-soaked knives, but their horror is visceral. Xinjiang's camps use torture, electric shocks, forced sterilizations, per The Guardian, to break spirits, not just bodies. They wanted to erase us, a survivor told BBC, describing children torn from parents, forced to renounce Islam. Hong Kong's national security law, enacted in 2020, is a legal guillotine, jailing thousands for subversion with vague charges, per Amnesty International. Dissidents face disappearance. Zhiqiang, snatched in 2020, was sentenced to 18 years, his voice silenced, per Human Rights Watch. Psychologically, this precision reflects a dominant personality, per Digital Commons, obsessed with control. Psychoanalytically, its reaction formation, turning his fear of chaos into ruthless order. His trauma, per the Cipher Brief, drives a need to project strength, using surveillance, censorship, and camps as tools of dominance. Each policy is a calculated strike, designed to terrify and subdue, executed with the efficiency of a man who learned survival in a cave. Xi hasn't faced a courtroom, no handcuffs, no gallows. He remains China's paramount leader, his power cemented by abolishing term limits in 2018, per Journal of Democracy. But the world watches. The UN's 2022 report on Xinjiang confirmed serious human rights violations, per Human Rights Watch. Former U.S. officials like Mike Pompeo called it genocide. Hong Kong's crackdown drew global protests, with the UK's Lisa Nandy urging sanctions, per Wikipedia. On X, users like a Hong Kong hermit decry Xi's tyranny. Xi, now in exile, calls him a political zombie, per Wikipedia. His defenders, like Victor Gao, argue he's stabilizing China, per PBS. But the bloodstains linger. Uyghur survivors, Hong Kong's broken youth, silence dissidents. No arrest has come, but history's judgment is harsh, his cult of personality a fragile shield against global outrage. What drives a man to cage a million souls? Xi's dominant personality, per Digital Commons, craves control, a response to childhood trauma. His depression, hinted at in his writings about Shaanxi's hardships, per the Cipher Brief, fuels a fatalistic view. Power is survival. Narcissistic traits make him see himself as China's savior, per Wikipedia, justifying horrors as necessary. Psychoanalytically, his superego, shaped by communist dogma, demands loyalty to the party, while his ID pushes for absolute dominance. The Cultural Revolution scars his sister's suicide, his own humiliation, left the need to never feel weak again, per PBS. His policies reflect reaction formation, turning fear into control. Xinjiang's camps, Hong Kong's crackdown, dissident purges, they're not just governance but a personal crusade to erase vulnerability. His Chinese dream is a projection of his own need for validation, a nation rebuilt in his image, per The Diplomat. She hasn't been caught. He rules unchallenged, his grip on China tighter than ever. In 2018, the National People's Congress made him president for life. Per Journal of Democracy, no cell awaits him, no trial looms. He lives in Beijing's Zhongnanhai, a fortress of power, his family shielded, his legacy growing. But the world's eyes burn. Xinjiang's horrors, Hong Kong's fall, dissidents' cries, they haunt his reign. On X, voices like at Uyghur Project call him a dictator. Historians like Alfred Chan warn his centralization risks China's future, per Psychology Today. Philosophically, Xi's story is a tragedy of control. Existentialism says he chooses his path, each policy a deliberate act to cement his legacy. But determinism asks, was he shaped by trauma, by a party that demands obedience? His Chinese dream reflects a man fleeing his past, building a fortress of power to escape powerlessness. Yet, the screams of his victims echo, a reminder that control comes at a cost. Xi Jinping's shadow looms over China, his face on posters, his thought in schools, yet his name is cursed by millions. His crimes, Xinjiang's camps, Hong Kong's fall, dissident silence, aren't murders but policies that crush souls. Psychologically, he's a study in dominance and trauma, a leader whose fear of chaos birthed a nightmare. His story warns of power unchecked, of a mind so scarred it builds cages to feel safe. As we close, one truth chills. The greatest horrors come not from knives, but from men who believe they're right. How many's eyes rule today, their crimes cloaked in power, waiting to be exposed?